好，同志们，我们回到来的，我们是中国现在 China Now with your gang of two, Nansu and Michael Olson. Every week we look at the news of, by, and from China, and we ask China Now, friend or foe, war or peace? China, of course, has a lot of very close relationships with people, with parties that are not too friendly to the United States, one of them being Iran and Iran's proxies. So, in effect, Iran's proxies are by and large China's proxies as well. And today we have the Houthis, I believe in Yemen, correct?
Yeah,
Who
Houthis,
who
they
are
occupy a part of, I think, the northern part of Yemen.
yeah, and Yemen, like Iran, is bordering a very tight body of water that controls a lot of the petroleum products coming out of the Persian, out of the Middle East.
Yeah,
And
Gulf of
they,
Aden. Yeah, they're near the Gulf of Aden,
yeah,
the Strait of Al Mandeb, right?
right. So another strait. And so the Houthis are now engaging in the same thing that Iran is engaging in, which is shooting up ships with full that are full of oil, the world's oil. And looking at the stock market as we speak, what do we see, Nansu?
Yeah, at this very second, Dow is down 616 points and Nasdaq down 587 points. So both of them around 600 points at this very second. Bitcoin, if you guys if you you love if you're a crypto lover, Bitcoin today at this moment drop 1,382 point uh,
Woo!
82. So that's $1,382 Bitcoin drop. Just one morning. So if you're crypto lovers, um, and it's interesting. Now China is doing basically Iran, it's China's proxy, and then you have all these Houthis, Hezbollah, and whoever else, ISIS. They are the proxy of Iran. So you're talking about these all these extremists, the terrorist group. They are the proxy of the proxy of the proxy of China. So it's like you're going back, and all of them eventually point to China.
And where does China get its money? By selling stuff to us.
That's right. And then how do they get the technology from us? So
From us.
this is the back cycle that basically need to be we need to break it down. We need to break this cycle.
Which is what the Senate Select Committee is putting on the table. Stop it. We have to stop funding our enemy.
Yeah, it's a long process. The process has been taken by now almost 8 years. It began with the 25% tariffs on the solar panels from China. By the way, China manufactured 80% of entire world's solar panel. Uh, now air conditioning more than 80% too. And then dishwasher, washer dryer more than 50%. So this is once they dominate become dominant, they will flood the entire world's market.
And
Now
it's interesting, Nansu, that Donald Trump really came down on China's balance of trade with the United States. Said we
that's
have
right.
to fix.
See, the 2016, I'm sorry, 2018, the Chinese export to the United States stopped at about the $560 billion a year. And then once Donald Trump started tariffs on China, it gradually calmed down. and 2025, I think it's 338 billion. Now, however, Europe, all the EU countries, EU last year, EU last year their import from China was 650 billion. See, that's why I say EU's China policy, they are way many years behind the United
They're
States.
behind us. Well, exactly what happened? Because when we closed the gate, Europe opened the gate,
That's
and
right.
China just came rushing right in. So
So
what we
all the
accomplished,
products they were not able to sell to the United States, they just went to EU, right? So
EU or South America or Canada or every place else, but
right,
except the
yeah.
United
Well,
States.
it was just 2 days ago. The first Chinese EV made in China arrived at Canada. Very first one. So you're going to look at what's going to happen in Canada in the next few years. They wouldn't be able to stop it. You know, this is just incredible.
And the same thing is happening with Germany and its great automobile manufacturers like Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Volkswagen, Audi. They're just getting clobbered and having to
Yeah,
lay
well,
off
they are.
hundreds of
Well,
thousands
see,
of
the
auto
problem
workers.
is once they done that, they don't have a backbone to stand up,
That's
you know,
right.
to China anymore, right? So all these years, every time when EU to discuss how they are going to balance the trade with China, Germany, it's always there stands for China. So now I think they just start changing their mind this year. So I think that I just read a recent article published in, I forgot which media, but it was written by yeah, it's a French newspaper, French Figaro newspaper. I forgot the name of it. I forgot how to even how to pronounce it in
Le
it's
Monde
I
might have
can.
been something like that. At any rate, I think I
Yeah,
saw
yeah,
the
but
same
basically they
article
say,
elsewhere.
yeah, yeah, they just it's a editorial opinion piece that it says that the trade war between EU and China it's going to start this coming fall, you know, autumn season. They're going to do basically now they got pretty much a lot of support even from Germany. So let's say Germany is the bad guy. Basically, when Russia start invading Ukraine, Germany is the one they're still buying, heavily relying on the oil from Russia. United States government has been giving warning to Germany many years, say you can't rely on your energy, put your energy rely on Russia.
It's
Don't
really
listen.
interesting to see how we allowed China to hollow out our industrial base,
That's
turn
right.
our Midwest into the Rust Belt, literally.
Yeah,
And
it's true.
they watched us give away our industry.
Yeah, it's
And
true.
finally somebody stood up and said, "No, we have to stop this." And that, of course, was Donald Trump. And who wants to listen to Donald Trump? So So they opened up their industry, and now they're losing their industry
Now
in the
I
same way
remember,
we lost ours.
right? I remember seeing now that everybody talk about how important the Taiwan is to us. But I remember back in 2016, it was less than a month after 2016 presidential election that on December the 2nd of I remember clearly. That was the day you almost drove me to tears. That a friend of mine sent me a text to say, Trump just as a president elect, not even president, not even sworn into the White House yet. He picked up the phone, he called Taiwan's president. So So that was the, very beginning, everything start changing. Uh, but the real thing came in January after Trump imposed 25% tariffs on China. Now, but the thing says, he picked up the phone, he called Taiwan's president, and then after that, after the phone call, his campaign at that time, he's not even the president yet. His campaign issued a statement, and it was very interesting. The statement clearly didn't say Taiwan's president Tsai Ing-wen. They didn't call her. The statement didn't call her Taiwan's leader, but call her Taiwan's president. So everybody, I remember everybody, Republican and Democrat, both, a lot of criticism against Donald Trump, saying he doesn't know what he's doing, basically. Now that
Well,
we all know he was right. It's like back in the years of Reagan, when Reagan said,
yeah,
"Mr.
same
Gorbachev,
thing.
tear down this wall, open this gate." Everybody criticizing him, right? Saying he's crazy. But he was right.
Yeah. Well, I think Europe is beginning to realize that what China did to the United States, or what United States did to the United States, actually, is happening to Europe as well. They're losing their industries. They're losing
Yeah,
their ability to make their own cars. The
that's
great, the
right.
great, the great car manufacturers of the
Yeah,
world.
everybody is driving a car pretty much. Europe, they love, EV, right? They love EV. They don't even want to fix air conditioning in a machine in their home, because they are afraid of this carbon dioxide, right? And now we're seeing that Canadians, and Carney is follow the same direction. So many years the EU went to the wrong direction, and the Carney, is doing the same thing. First the EV just arrived at Canada. It's just like this week,
Yeah.
made in China.
Well, I remember the antipathy toward Ronald Reagan. I was a college student at the time, and it was a very popular thing to dismiss Ronald Reagan as being a movie star clown, as it were. Um, and I remember when he was governor of California, uh, but he was right, and history pretty much proved him right.
And if you look at this China thing now, President Trump is not the only one doing it, right? But he gets things done. This is what happened. You remember 2024, when President Biden had the 75th summit of NATO. He tried to send the same message. He had all the NATO leaders and all our ally in the Western Pacific, like India Prime Minister Modi, and you have a South Korea president, Japanese president, and Australia, New Zealand presidents all come together. They signed the so-called Washington Declaration. It's the same message. It's focused on China. But the problem is this thing cannot be done just by nicely asking someone. They don't want to do that. All these Finland and Denmark. You look at that. They are every year they have this survey of the happiness index. They are the top. Of course, they're the top because they don't spend any money on their defense. They spend all the money on this green business or social welfare
Also,
and
social
health
welfare
care.
programs and whatnot.
Yeah, so of course they have, but the problem is they cannot defend their own country, and they can't stop China. China. This is how European country do things. Okay, I give you a story. This is a very early on. This is very, very early on. 2003. Uh, yeah, that was two. maybe even earlier. Maybe yeah, it's 2001 or 2003.
At
Yeah.
any rate, back then.
Back then, it's around 2000. I already forgot. President, not president, Chairman Jiang Zemin, Chairman Jiang Zemin, a third generation leader of CCP, went to Iceland. He was visiting Iceland. We went there to protest. We follow him all around the world, basically. He show up, we show up. So this is what happened. This is how chicken the Iceland government is. So now they that day, they went to a spring, right? Iceland has a lot of a spring, right? So they take a bath or wherever they do that over
Oh,
there.
yeah, hot water, yes.
Hot water, right? Hot spring, right?
Hot
So,
springs.
Jiang Zemin had a lunch with Iceland uh, prime minister, and then they have a talk a little bit. We were outside of the restaurant. We were protesting. Now, and then after the lunch, after they have a lunch together, we don't know what's going on inside, but we're getting the information, and also later was reported. Uh, After the lunch together, Jiang Zemin, he's Chinese, right? So he had this hobby of taking a nap after lunch. So he had like a couple hours of lunch, and then he had Iceland Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Ministry of everybody, just waiting for him to finish his taking the nap. This is how this is how they treat the European government, and they banned it. They just allowed that to happen. It's just interesting, and they try, and and the Iceland government tried to arrest all the people coming to Iceland to protest against the Xi Jinping, Jiang Zemin. This is how bad it was. Even
Well,
we don't
that's
see it,
very
they're gonna,
interesting. That's very interesting, Nansu, because back then we were still pretty much at the peak of our panda love.
yeah,
And so that somebody was there protesting at all was really significant in my mind,
yeah.
because
That was.
2003, everybody loved China.
Maybe it's a little earlier. Maybe it's 2001. I forgot. It's probably
Yeah.
2000. Yeah, 2003. I be maybe 2002. I forgot, but you can Google it when the Jiang Zemin visited Iceland. So I went there the first time and the only time of my life that I went to Iceland. It was just for the purpose of a protest. Um, and
Well,
that was
so we're looking at an era now where we, at least here in the United States, are seeing the mercantilism of China as being an offensive weapon with which we must stand up and fight or succumb to it. Uh, Europe just coming to this realization. And I'm sure they watched when we turned our back on that mercantilism, they looked at it as an opportunity and opened the door. Come and sell your stuff here. We'll love to help you out. And so they're losing their manufacturing capabilities now too. Now this is something that the CCP is faced with this Belt and Road initiative all over the world.
Well, I think once EU turn their back to China, then I think that's going to be. I hope this is the last straw on China's economy, because the China's economy they used to have three engines. One is their real estate, which collapsed.
Collapse.
One is the investment, the internal investment, basically their own investment, right? Which their bank because the government deficit they
Now,
got
what was where was the money coming from for internal investment? from the
well, it's because it's a lot of them are from export, right? So
yeah,
which is
okay,
the third engine.
manufacturing.
Yeah, and which is the third engine, which is export. So with the other two, internal investment as well as the real estate collapse, fell like stone, free fall ever since 2023. So ever since 2023, there's only single engine the Chinese economy relying on is the export. Now, and then who is the biggest buyer of Chinese product? All this time, after after United States basically imposed sanction against the stuff from China. That's EU, right? Now EU is the biggest buyer. Now they're talking about sanction China. In the coming in a few months, they're going to most likely they're going to come to some sort of agreement now to sanction China, and of course China is going to retaliate. They're going to impose heavy tariffs on probably wines from France, French wines, and or maybe
Perfume, perfume.
airplanes, or maybe cars from Germany, things so on and so forth, right? So now I don't know how that's going to go, but it should happen a lot earlier. They shouldn't wait. And you remember last November that the Trump published the White House national security strategy, which all the European countries, only Germany's name was mentioned twice. Twice. Why? Because Germany still building some of the world's biggest chemical plants in China using oil from Russia, right? So these
And
guys are the bad actors. They need to wake up.
and that was another big source of revenue for China for many years was investment from elsewhere, this principally the United States, going to China and building factories. That was a lot of money flowing into China from the
Yeah,
United
yeah.
States.
Well, Wall Street, right?
Wall Street, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's why,
Blackstone.
see, this is the problem. See, we are against ourselves because if you go back to the speech made by President Clinton March 8th, 2000, in the Johns Hopkins University, in the speech that President Clinton tried to urge the U.S. Congress to give China PNTR, permanent normal trade relation, which is the prerequisite for the Clinton to push forward the agenda to allow China to join WTO, right? Clinton couldn't do it, couldn't finish what he started, and then George W. Bush gave China, allowed China to join WTO, follow that. So now, if you go back to read that speech, basically it's to separate economic interests from human rights. Now, keep in mind. Now, we are going to China to make investment because we want to change China because the Chinese regime promised us they're going to reform their political system. But however, we're going there by separating the human rights from the economic interests. So that's the very first step in we put our foot into a very wrong place. That basically, all of a sudden we allow the Wall Street, all the business people, they just go to China, make huge investments, uh, and then we don't watch it, whatever in China, whatever happened in China anymore. We don't even watch it. Uh, I remember why China will never change. Give you an example. I have a friend who worked on the so-called humanitarian mission on China. What they do is that they try to raise money in the Western world, especially in the United States. After they raise money, they'll go to China to help those jailed human rights leaders and political dissidents because once they are jailed, they have a family need to get support, right? How much money they can raise every year? Maybe some of the years, maybe a few $1,000. Some of the years they got like maybe good years, 20, $30,000, which is nothing comparing with the billions of dollars that Wall Street invested in China. Now, of course, they will never change. If we do things that way, well, how we are going to make the communist regime change? Never.
And so that brings us to the upcoming election and to Trump's revelation that the Chinese have captured 220 million U.S. voter files. We'll pick that up when we come back from this break. This is China Now with Nan Su, Michael Olson, and you. Don't go away.
It's time now to repair or replace your roof. Hi, folks. Warren Knox here of Knox Roofing. Well, we install leak-proof and fire-proof roofs. Roofs that look nice with a lot of choices of colors and styles. Gutters, skylights, insulation, and roof decks. We only install proven products with warranties unmatched by anybody. Financing is always available, and we have discounts for veterans and seniors. Do business with Knox Roofing, and you'll also receive a free Knox Garden Box. The number to call again is 831-461-0634. Thanks, folks.
Attention investors. This is a simple commercial on the investment value of gold. Gold continues to make new highs. In good markets and in bad markets, you need to have your portfolio balanced with gold. Learn about owning physical gold or getting a gold-backed IRA. Make this simple call right now.
800-414-1657. 800-414-1657. That's 800-414-1657.
Sponsored by Reagan Gold.
It's high time to celebrate the opening of the new Hook Outlet Dispensary, 1129 Mission in Santa Cruz. Get in on the opening fun and really low prices on the Hook's unmatched selection of top-quality medical and recreational cannabis flower, vapes, drinks, gummies, and concentrates. The Hook Outlet is now the West Side's source for finest cannabis at the lowest prices. Get in on all the opening fun and low prices at the all-new Hook Outlet. HookOutlet.com for details and deals.
Charlie Hong Kong is here to nourish you with our healthy noodle and rice bowls, abundant with local organic produce grown in nutrient-dense soil, as well as soups, sandwiches, salads, and our special ginger lemonade. All are welcome to enjoy our patio or to go. Order in person or online, corner of Soquel and Seabright. Charlie Hong Kong, nourishing our community one bowl at a time.
Welcome back. Well, President Donald Trump released files on China that describe a threat to our voting system, he says. Other people say, I don't see anything wrong with that. 220 million voter records parlayed by the Chinese Communist Party. Why does it matter? Well, that information gives the CCP the opportunity to map communities of interest and identify where to invest their efforts into managing the vote, as it were. Now, Trump claimed that this was a big part of his 2020 election, this Chinese participation in our election. And so what do we do about it? Do we do anything? And this is, to me, another indication of the never-ending struggle, always fighting for every square inch. Mansu?
What strike me, when we listen to the speech from our president, it's that he actually quoted from a CIA report which says basically the Chinese communist leaders gave clear instruction in 2018 to prevent the Trump to be reelected, right? That's number one. That really strikes me that, they want. Now, think about this. That's the very first thing come to my mind. You want to replace American leadership. That's like you try to replace American government. This is a war. This is a war against the United States. Now, if you add everything together, the unrestricted warfare, the war that's without smoke, without bomb shell,
The silent war,
the silent
the
war,
gray war. There's many
right?
names for it, but
Yeah, you keep thinking about the unrestricted warfare of every aspect. You think about the economic and financial warfare, which, think about, the how many jobs and industry we lost to China. Think about the drug warfare. Think about, fentanyl. Think about the cultural educational warfare, Confucius Institute, so, and catch the elite, so on and so forth. On top of all that, they just make the unrestricted warfare reach the peak when they try to replace or try to U.S. president and try to interfere with U.S. election, right? So now that's a war. And number two, Trump also quoted the CIA report says that the Chinese communist regime spend. I don't know how much money they spend, but basically it says they spend money to buy American media and journalists to write a report against President Trump. So that's the second thing. That's a united front work. They're using the alliance they build and
so they
they
build friendships with people who write political thought
commentary,
one
yeah,
way that's friendly to them,
and
and then they
report
pay them to
to
continue that.
that. Yeah, that's the united front work, right? So that two part really strikes me. uh and then now the regarding the vote the Chinese government got, uh I don't know what they have used it for so far. I'm still waiting for, because Trump said that there will be more information coming out, because the investigation is still going on. So how they did it, I don't know, we but they already have a lot of a tremendous amount of influence in the United States. Nobody can deny it. How they use it. That's the problem. I'm waiting for more investigation result to come out.
Well, one of the things that came out was quite astounding to me, and that was the shocking truth about these Chinese operations is that they were supported by members of the American intelligence community, including former FBI official Nikki Flores, who was essentially responsible for election security in the FBI, and an explosive email or text thread. She told one of her associates, I'm basically running a shadow government across the FBI at this point to negate the belief that there is a Chinese effort to manage our elections. This gal was sitting on the evidence and refused to allow it to be placed on the table for consideration. And she is an intrinsic part of the FBI's effort to secure our election integrity. So to me, um, we're in big trouble all the way through
Yeah,
our
we
ability
are.
to control our own country through elections.
Well, see, the election requirement is very basic. I support the idea that you need to show your ID.
Amen.
Yeah, it's like you think about it sometimes.
The most important thing we do as a citizen is
Yeah, yeah,
vote.
yeah. Sometimes they even ask you to show your ID when you buy a bottle of alcohol.
Yes.
Now that you're talking about buying alcohol, it's a more serious issue than go to the place to to vote, to cast your vote. That's just nonsense, right? This is
So if it's so easy to cheat on elections, people say, oh, there's no cheating on elections. Well, we cheat on everything. We cheat on welfare payments, we cheat on assistance programs. We cheat on everything. So why is it not possible for there to be cheating on elections with so much money involved in these decisions that are being made by our elected people? I think of the Inflation Reduction Act, which gave our politicians $2 trillion to hand out to their friends and relatives. $2 trillion. And we've been suffering inflation ever since. So, why is there no incentive to cheat on elections? Of course, there's an incentive to cheat, trillions of dollars worth of incentive. So, we cheat and we deny it.
Well,
And there's only one way to stop that, and that is the have an ID, show your ID.
yeah, well, this is a very simple thing, right? You just look at Taiwan. Taiwan, they're counting the vote by hand count every vote, and then they, 5 o'clock they close the voting place.
Done.
8 o'clock they start coming out the result. The results start coming out, and then by the before the end of the day, they will have the election results. It's hand counted. It's not difficult at all. It's just that it take little time to set it up.
So the only reason not to have IDs is to cheat.
Well,
There's
I
no
wouldn't
other reason.
speculate. I wouldn't speculate that, but it's just like the wishful thinking, right? You you assume that everything goes your way, your what you wish. It's just like our China policy. We will have been wishful thinking.
You can
We
hand
have
over
our
your
good.
industrial base, and
Yeah,
that way
yeah,
you don't
yeah.
have
We
to have
have the
dirty
good
air.
wishes. We have a good wishes to help China, and then China will come our way. That just never happened. You just this is a human nature, right? You need to do something. It's kind of, well, why do you need a traffic law?
And we go
Why
right.
don't you do the same thing? Oh, okay. Everybody just you don't need a driver license. Drive your car without driver license. So why don't we do that? We will. Why don't you? If you
Why do
charge
we have
people so much,
jails?
that's right. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense, right?
It does not make sense. And I think our election integrity, and if you don't have integrity for your election, you really don't have elections. You're like Nicaragua,
Well,
where
basically,
Daniel Ortega just said, we're not going to have elections anymore.
it basically, if we are our election law is so loose, it opens the door for all these regimes, the Beijing and
Yes,
Moscow,
exactly.
Tehran, and for them to come to interfere with the result, right? It's just making
Or to
uh
even worse, to engineer the results. So if you have 220 million voter profiles in your computer and you put that into an artificial intelligence software program and you use that information to target specific interest groups with specific messages, you can have a great impact on an election.
yeah, it's not that we cannot do it. It's not that it's very difficult to do it. Just look at Taiwan. They have 23 million people living in the island. Just it's just a little bit bigger than the state of Maryland, right? Maryland is the 42nd largest state in the United States, and which make Taiwan, actually bigger than uh, nine of the 50 states in the United States. But the population-wise, Taiwan's population is right after Texas, Florida, and California. And, it's number four if you consider Taiwan as a state in the United States. Taiwan's population actually bigger than the state of New York, and they can do it. They can do it. This get a same day result, and they don't even need to wait a month to get the final result. They just same day they got a result, hand count the ballots. You just
That
look at them. You
that
know why? You know why Taiwan is so careful? Because they're at the doorstep of China.
Taiwan can do it. That excuse me, that Taiwan does do it in my mind, makes Taiwan the greatest threat to the Chinese Communist Party
Yeah,
of
it's true.
anything.
Yeah, it's true.
That there's this island right off our coast that is doing it, that is living a prosperous life, that is living a life of free choice. And it's working, and people are happy, and people are prosperous. And that is the most frightening thing in the world for the Chinese Communist Party, which is why they passed a new law of ethnic unity, which is to say that ethnic unity and progress promotion law represents a move by the Chinese Communist Party from opposing independence toward forced unification under the guise of ethnic unity. So, those of you who are on Taiwan, you're not Taiwanese, you're ethnic Chinese, and we own that position. We own that market, and so whether you like it or not, you're one of us, and therefore you must obey this new ethnic unity and progress promotion law. If you fail to abide by this law, and if you stand up and say, I'm a proud Taiwanese, I love my freedom, I love my independence, you are in direct violation of this law, whether you're standing on Taiwan or New York City or Los Angeles.
Well, the interesting part of this law is it's not only against the Taiwanese, Tibetans, Uyghurs, it's also against the Chinese. It's not,
Especially against them.
yeah, against all the Chinese people because they are against the all the excellent parts of a traditional Chinese culture. This the Chinese communist regime afraid of anything from Chinese traditional culture, because they are everything against Confucianism, Buddhism, Taoism, all the that good parts of Chinese heritage. So, uh, so,
And it should be noted that that is why during the Cultural Revolution, Chairman Mao and instructed the Red Guards to destroy all forms of ancient culture.
yeah, they're still doing that. Think about the transnational suppression. That what happened to Sun Yun. What they have put up
Exactly.
the
And
bomb threat.
when you say transnational suppression, you're talking about the Chinese Communist Party right here in the United States of America repressing an expression of the joys of that ancient Chinese culture in the
That's
form
it.
of a dance.
That's it. Yeah, they're doing everything against the Chinese community that's outside of China, enjoying their freedom in the United States, looking for the good opportunities for their family, for the prosperity, and they are enjoying the things they are not able to enjoy in China which is a big jail, which is the biggest jail in the world.
Which is a jail. It is not a country, it's a jail.
It is a jail. It's the jail, the biggest jail. So I think that that's what we need to pay attention. That's the things going on around us.
And that they see that the Chinese Communist Party sees people in Taiwan, in New York City, all around the world. If you see Chinese people who share the heritage of China standing up and having fun and living a life of freedom, there's nothing more frightening to the Chinese Communist Party than to seeing people enjoy themselves with
Yeah,
freedom.
that's it. Especially, the China people outside of China, they have the right to criticize Beijing, right? So that's
Exactly. So they pass this law, this incredible law, ethnic unity and progress promotion law.
And it's
Imagine,
not
ladies,
only okay, it's not only applied to the minority, it's not only applied to the Chinese people in China, it applied to everywhere.
every universal,
You and
worldwide.
I, it
Yes.
apply to us too. Now, Michael, if you go to China, you'll be thrown into jail behind the bars today based on this law.
Well, Nansu, I always believed that was the case, even before, um, even long before I started doing this radio show. I knew that if I were to go to China, I would be in trouble really quickly because I am a contrarian. I just don't like where everybody else is going, and I want to be going the other way. And that is antithetical to all that is the Chinese Communist Party. You must do as we say. You must think as we want you to think. And if you don't, we have this brand new law, ethnic unity and progress promotion law, that we can pick you up and take you in for questioning. And I'm sure I would have answered all the questions wrong because I always do. And I'm sure that,
You're going to have the lowest credit score, the social credit score. You wouldn't be able to buy an airplane ticket if you go to China.
and that's what people must know. Ladies and gentlemen, we must know that China is not a country. It is a jail owned by the Chinese Communist Party. And if you don't say and think exactly like they want you to think,
That's
then
right.
you are going to be subject to the ethnic unity and progress promotion law and taken away. And a lot of people are taken away and never heard from again.
That's it. Oh, even worse than that. When after you're taken away, maybe they will do the forced organ harvesting and sell your organs. This is are the unthinkable things that been done and then be done for decades in China, and people outside of China, while we still enjoy the wishful thinking of panda love, it's just incredible. This is what happened in the past, and it's still happening in China today. So we need to pay attention so we don't put ourselves in the lifestyle of our children and grandchildren to danger.
And so when our diplomats are doing what they must do, which is figure out a way that we can address our differences and still get along, because we must still get along to the extent that we're not killing each other. Um, we have to remember that our two ways of doing things are not compatible. They don't mix. Communism and free enterprise are two different things.
Capitalism, yeah, communism and capitalism, they just don't get along.
They are two different things.
That's right.
And so we must always remember that. Easy to forget it when there's so much being done to make us to provide distractions from our focus. But we must focus on that. And we must stand up and hold it up to the light of day and say, this is who we are and this is who they are. And we have to do what we can do to make certain that our side wins. Because if it doesn't, we're all going to be subject to the wonderful ethnic unity and progress promotion law that will throw us all in the hoosegow for not thinking correctly. And yes, I suppose, Nansu, that if you and I were to fly into Beijing, they'd haul on
Well, just basically disappeared.
as do most people who disagree. And it doesn't have to be a very substantial disagreement. You can be a practitioner of Falun Gong
Yep.
and disappear. You can
Right.
be,
You could be disappear, and then even outside of China, they don't even hide it. If you disappear, meaning they hide you, in a place, they nobody will know where you are. But like they are just doing the military drill openly. They just open fire as we speak. They just open fire, live fire, military drill less than 90 miles from the coastline of Taiwan. Uh, Come on, guys. This thing is happen under everybody's watch. They're just
yeah.
even we're thinking, what will happen if Iran have a nuclear weapon? We need to also think what
You
will happen.
know what would happen if Iran had the nuclear weapon, had an atom bomb.
That's
You
right,
know
but
they would just
well,
give it to one of their clients,
right. And
like
then
the Houthis
we
or whatever.
we also need to know who is behind Iranian regime, and we need to think about what will happen after we gave all of our most advanced technology to China. We need to know that.
And we need to hold that in our thoughts as we prepare to host Xi Jinping in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, September
And we
24th.
have to hold this thought in mind that we are virtually incompatible.
Yep.
And yet we have to find a way to live together in this world until such time as we decide it's not time, it's not possible.
Yeah, well, the greatest the biggest task that President Trump has is to defend the peace, right? In the
That's
Western
right.
Pacific, to defend the peace in the Western Pacific. And while it's the good timing, it's actually the perfect timing for him to solve all the Iranian regime's nuclear weapon issue because China is in deep trouble in its economy and Russia.
And with that, we'll have to say
Yep.
thank you all for tuning in. This has been China Now, episode number 296. See you next week for more China Now, friend or foe, war or peace. Nansu, thank you. Thank you all for tuning in.